Have you ever thought about what real power looks like? I'm not talking about politicians in suits shaking hands for the cameras. I'm talking about the kind of power that operates in the shadows, the kind that can make a country tremble with a single phone call. These are the men and women who built empires on fear, violence, and a complete disregard for the law. They're the boogeymen that law enforcement has nightmares about, figures who are more myth than man, whose influence stretches across continents and whose fortunes are built on mountains of cash and bodies. Today, we're diving deep into that darkness. We're going to pull back the curtain and look at the lives and crimes of the 10 most dangerous, most ruthless, and most powerful mafia bosses the world has ever seen. Before we get started, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Kicking off our list is a name that's become synonymous with the drug trade itself. Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria. This guy wasn't just a drug dealer, he was a narco-terrorist who brought an entire nation to its knees. Think about the scale of this operation. At the peak of his power in the 80s and early 90s, the Medellin cartel was supplying an estimated 80% of the cocaine smuggled into the United States. That's an insane market share. The logistics alone are mind-boggling. We're talking about flying 15 tons of coke per day. They had so much money they had to bury it in fields, hide it in warehouse walls. They'd still lose something like 10% of it to rats and water damage. Imagine having so much cash that rats eating it is just a business expense. With that money came a level of violence that was just horrific. Escobar's philosophy was plata o plomo, which means silver or lead. Silver-lead. He was responsible for the deaths of thousands of people. Judges, police officers, journalists, politicians, countless innocent civilians who just got in the way. He bombed a commercial airliner, Avianca Flight 203, just to try and kill one political candidate who wasn't even on the plane. 107 people died. Next up, we've got a guy who learned from Escobar's playbook and took it to another level. Joaquin Guzman, better known as El Chapo or Shorty, the longtime leader of the Sinaloa cartel. He didn't just move drugs, he revolutionized the logistics. He mastered the art of smuggling, using everything from container ships, submarines, to, most famously, a massive network of air-conditioned tunnels under the US-Mexico border. These weren't just holes in the ground. Sophisticated tunnels with lighting, ventilation, and even rail systems to move product faster, complete with a motorcycle on rails waiting to whisk him away. He thought like a CEO, always optimizing the supply chain. The Sinaloa cartel became a global, multi-billion-dollar enterprise dealing in cocaine, methamphetamine, marijuana, heroin. Forbes even put him on their list of the world's most powerful people. But what really cemented his legendary status were his prison escapes. The first time, in 2001, he supposedly escaped in a laundry cart. A year later they find a hole under his shower. It leads to a mile-long, professionally built tunnel. Captured in 2014, extradited to the US, tried, convicted, sentenced to life plus 30 years in a supermax in Colorado, he's not getting out. Now we move across the world to India to a man who is a whole different kind of monster, Dawood Ibrahim. He started as a small-time gangster in Mumbai, running smuggling, extortion rackets with his gang D Company. He consolidated power, eliminating rivals and corrupting officials. Designated as a global terrorist by the US and the UN, prime suspect in the 1993 Bombay bombings. 12 coordinated explosions, 257 killed, over 1,400 injured. He fled India and has been on the run, believed hiding in Pakistan, allegedly protected by the ISI. Pakistan denies it. From there he allegedly runs a global D company with tentacles in Asia, Europe, Africa, involved in drugs, arms trafficking, contract killing, counterfeiting, hawala transfers, and reportedly ties to jihadist networks. The US Treasury says his syndicate moved funds and smuggled operatives. One of the most wanted men, $25 million bounty, a ghost pulling strings from afar, a nightmare for intelligence agencies worldwide. Number 7. Matteo Messina Denaro, the last godfather. This guy was known as Diabolic. The nickname comes from a famous Italian comic book villain, a direct protege of the brutal boss, Salvatore Toto Riina. He went on the run in 1993 and basically vanished. For 30 years he was a ghost, very few photos, police relying on composites and Pizzini notes. He communicated using tiny coded notes passed through trusted messengers to avoid electronic surveillance. He once bragged, "I filled a cemetery all by myself." He was linked to the 1992 bombings that killed anti-mafia prosecutors Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino, but in January 2023, the hunt finally ended. He was captured at a private health clinic in Palermo, where he was receiving treatment for cancer under a false name. His capture was a monumental victory for the Italian state. The end of the line for the last Godfather wasn't a blaze of glory but a quiet arrest in a hospital waiting room. Number 6. Semyon Mogilevich. Semyon Mogilevich, the Brainy Don. Now we enter the shadowy world of the Russian mob, and a man law enforcement agencies around the world consider one of the most dangerous criminals on the planet. Known as the Brainy Don because he has a degree in economics, he's the white-collar international corporate-level crime lord. Complex fraud, money laundering, racketeering on a massive scale. One notorious alleged scheme involved YBM Magnex, a pump and dump that reportedly bilked investors out of $150 million. A master of shell companies and offshore bank accounts, exploiting the complexities of international law. There are allegations he's involved in weapons trafficking, energy market infiltration, even illicit nuclear material deals. Links so varied it's hard to keep track. Unlike others, Mogilevich appears to live freely in Russia. Briefly arrested in 2008 on tax charges, released and charges dropped. The FBI calls him a strategic threat, a modern-day Moriarty. Number 5. Al Capone, the original public enemy. Let's take a trip back to the Roaring '20s, to the man who basically created the blueprint for the American gangster, Alphonse Al Capone. His name is legendary, and for good reason. During Prohibition, Capone built an empire in Chicago based on bootlegging, gambling, and prostitution. He took over the Chicago outfit and turned it into a finely tuned machine that generated incredible profits. We're talking about an estimated $100 million a year back in the 1920s. His war with rival gangs culminated in the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. 7 men lined against a wall and gunned down. Witnesses were too scared to speak, so the feds got him on tax evasion. A brilliant move. In 1931, Capone was convicted and sent to Alcatraz. His health deteriorated from syphilis. When released, he was a broken man. He died in 1947, a shadow of his former self. Capone's story is the classic gangster tale of a meteoric rise and a dramatic fall. Number 4. Salvatore Riina, the Beast, head of the Corleonese clan. Short, unassuming, quietly spoken, and terrifyingly violent. In the 1980s and early 90s he waged war on rival mobsters, and the Italian state. Architect of the Second Mafia War. Hundreds dead. He ordered the assassination of Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino. The 1992 bombing used half a ton of explosives under a highway. An act of war. The nation was traumatized, and the government launched a huge crackdown. After 23 years fugitive, Riina was arrested in 1993. He was tried, convicted of hundreds of murders, and given multiple life sentences. He never cooperated, remained defiant, and died in prison in 2017. Toto Riina, the darkest side of the Sicilian Mafia, a legacy written in blood. He was truly a beast. Number 3. Frank Lucas, the American gangster. Harlem, 1960s, 70s. A man who changed the American drug trade. An independent operator who broke the heroin monopoly in New York and cut out the middlemen. He went straight to the source. Flew to Southeast Asia, connected directly with producers in the Golden Triangle, buying nearly 100% pure heroin. Blue magic. It's disputed, but claims say he smuggled it back in false bottoms of coffins. Exploiting chaos and contacts in the army. He cornered the market, claiming $1 million a day, living lavishly, rubbing shoulders with celebrities. Downfall. Detective Richie Roberts built the case. His house was raided in 1975. He was arrested and sentenced, then he cooperated. As an informant, he led to convictions of dozens of traffickers and corrupt cops. A roller coaster life of ambition, brutal violence, and ultimate survival. Number 2. Griselda Blanco, the Godmother. So far this list has been all men. But our number 2 is a woman arguably more ruthless and terrifying than any of them. Pioneer in the cocaine trade, a key figure in the Medellin cartel, she wrote the book on trafficking into Miami, and is credited with inventing the motorcycle drive-by shooting. Completely paranoid and hair-trigger, she ordered murders for the smallest perceived slight. It's estimated she was responsible for up to 200 murders. Nicknamed the Black Widow, she had husbands killed, named her son Michael Corleone, and saw herself as a dynastic figure. Arrested in 1985 in California, she spent nearly 2 decades in a U.S. prison before being deported to Colombia in 2004. In 2012, at age 69, Griselda Blanco was killed. a man on a motorcycle rode up to her as she left a butcher shop and shot her twice in the head. The godmother was killed by the method she helped popularize. Number 1. Raymond Patriarca, the ghost of New England. For decades, from the 1950s to the 1980s, he was the absolute, undisputed boss of the New England crime family. He ruled with an iron fist from a small, unassuming office on Federal Hill in Providence, Rhode Island. His headquarters was a storefront, the National Cigarette Service Company. From that drab office he ran a massive empire of illegal gambling, loan sharking, and extortion. Politicians, union leaders, law enforcement, nothing happened without his knowledge and approval. People lined up outside to see him, to ask favors or pay tribute. He was the judge, the jury, the executioner. The FBI bugged his office for 3 years. The transcripts revealed a man deeply involved in every aspect, a micromanager of crime. Even with evidence, he was difficult to convict. He survived gang wars and federal prosecutions, dying of a heart attack in 1984, still the boss. Raymond Patriarca was the embodiment of quiet, all-encompassing mafia power, a true godfather. And there you have it, 10 of the most ruthless, powerful, dangerous to ever dominate the world of organized crime. From the cocaine-fueled terror of Escobar and Blanco, to the old-school, iron-fisted rule of Patriarca, these are the people who built empires in the shadows. Their stories are a crazy mix of brutal violence, incredible ingenuity, and staggering ambition. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the criminal underworld, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Unknown Facts for more content just like this. Let us know in the comments which of these bosses you found the most terrifying, or if there's anyone you think we should have included. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.